Oh, we're ready. Good morning, everybody, and welcome into the sanctuary. It's good to be here with you all. I've been missing you, and here I am back again. Glad to be home. Glad to be home. So, I begin with the story, as I shared this morning. A man woke up one day, and he decided to pick up his violin and go and play for all the people that would be passing by in the subway in Washington, or it could have been Boston, I'm not sure. It may have been Boston. I'm quite sure of some details, but I'm sure of the story's message. And so he did that, but he kind of turned up showing himself to be rather disheveled, kind of somebody who just rolled out of the bed and didn't pay much attention to himself, picked up his old violin case, and off he went. And he played and he played and he played all day long with a few breaks in between. Beautiful music. And thousands of people passed by, and they didn't even give the man a glance. Didn't even hear, see, or know he was there. A few did. But all those thousands of people had no idea. Playing to them was this world-renowned, famous musician, playing on a violin that cost $3.5 million. What they were seeing was the man's face value, if they saw it all. They were not seeing beyond that to the true value, and they certainly were not hearing it. And you and I would say, oh, that wouldn't be me. I would recognize that beautiful music, and I would be in awe, and I would wait, and I would listen, and throw something into the, case. Maybe we would. I would like to think we would. So today what we're focusing on is the understanding and the awareness of what value is indeed. I mean, again, as I shared this morning, there's one value, that's all, and everything flows out of it, and it's the value of love. But it's love unconditioned and unconditional like you and I have ever known, never known. But it's something that we aspire to. It's the reach that we take. We aim for the star, all the time. And we're reaching for that all the time. That's why we're here. But having said that, love is the central value and really all there is. Flowing out of that, there are all kinds of tributaries that touch on what we call a value, a value, a value, a value, a value. So this week we're invited to look at what indeed is valuable in our lives and what we consider to be of value. So that would bring us back to the awareness and the understanding that there's no greater value for you and for me as we move into that state of unconditional love than mindfulness and awareness and wakefulness and attention and presence, you see. Because we're never going to unleash that love that is ours already fully until we become truly mindful, truly present, truly awake, truly aware, and truly in the sacrament of the now moment. That's what we're called to do. And the ego, beautiful and wonderful and awesome and mischievous that it is attached very much to status quo. And it likes to go to the past, and it likes to go to the future, and is dead scared of the present and all that the present might demand. So our task and our calling is to be here now and as awake as we possibly can be, and to decide for ourselves what value is, what my value is, and what the value of life is, what that value is. And of course, we're going to come to love. Always, in the end. We may take a roundabout or circuitous route to it, but we will come to love being the only value. And it's not necessarily what you want to hear on any particular given day, especially when you don't feel like being anything other than irritated and upset and annoyed and so on. And yet, we'll always come back to that. Because within you and within me, there is this constant, continuous, like a continuous low-grade infection that can blow up every now and again, this gnawing desire to recover, to find ourselves, to come home to ourselves again. And of course, home is that unified field. It's the unified field of awareness. That's what home is. And that's always going to be part of who and what we are. But in the first part of our lives, and I'm not talking about the first part of our lives chronologically, I'm just talking about the first sense of awareness that we have. In the first part of our life, it's all about, getting and succeeding and climbing ladders and doing all of that and gathering and building and putting together this, that, and the other, and so on, and collecting and, moving to where we think we're supposed to be on that ladder of success, whatever that is. That's the first stage of our lives on planet Earth. And then we move into a second stage where there's a crossover occurs, and then our value becomes different. The value in the first stage is about, doing and being and accomplishing and succeeding and getting and gathering and building and putting together and so on. And it's all good. It's all good. It's just where we are. But when we come to a place like this, day after day, or similar gatherings, it's because we're in the crossover or we've just moved into the second stage, or we're approaching the crossover, where we know there's more to life than all of what's going on this side of it. The getting and the spending and the lay waste to our powers and the little we see in nature that is ours and the giving away of our hearts, a sordid boon, as the poet said, this side of it. And enjoying it, too, mostly, for many of us. Not so much for some of us. So here we are now at the crossroads. I always like to see myself at a crossroads. I never see myself as having completely been finished and I'm done and I'm baked and I'm cooked and that's it. No, that's always going on. But at that crossroads, it's the most exciting part of our lives, that we have this awareness that we're at a portal now that we could pass through, and it could take us into a much more wondrous experience of life and living and make us feel much more masterful in our life and living. And I asked the question this morning, what would take us out of being a good person into being a masterful person? What would that one thing be that takes us out of being a good person into being a masterful person? And a masterful person is somebody that has mastered the technique, the art of life, and that is in control of their lives and knows how to maneuver life successfully along the spiritual lines of success. It's the masterful life and living. What would that one thing be? Well, you could give me amazing answers, I know, and they'd all be right. But the answer to that question that the seers give is the difference between a good life and a masterful life is practice, is practice, is practice, practice. And you and I are hearing about spiritual practice all of the time, and it scares us sometimes because you think, I can't pretzel myself, I can't do this, I've tried that, I've tried the other, it doesn't work. I really feel a failure when it comes to all of that stuff. So really, it's not a help to me be talking about practice. I'm not talking about that kind of practice at all. And it's like, again, as I shared this morning, you give two people of the same talent two instruments to learn how to play. And one of them practices and practices and practices and practices and practices and becomes this wonderful, amazing musician. And the other one who doesn't really, is not into it, doesn't practice that much, becomes an okay musician. Same instruments, same level of talent, but different results. So the practice is very important. So the focus on the practice today, in keeping with the understanding and the realization that love is the true value, always the true value. Love is the true value. The practice is going to be whatever it is that keeps you mindful, whatever it is that keeps you connected, whatever it is that keeps you in that open state of awareness and readiness and expectancy of the more being realized through you, the excellence being realized through you, the magnificence being realized through you. And for that to happen, we have to be consciously connected, consciously connected. Archbishop Desmond Tutu would say, You know, we are the light bulb, and all we have to do is to stay screwed in. That's what he said. That's what he said. You just have to stay screwed in. You're the light bulb, not going to work if you're not screwed in. Now, we probably would have said plugged in, but there you are. And so that's the screwed in part of that, is to be mindful and aware, in spite of what may be going on in your life. We don't wait to be connected when everything is going right and we're feeling good and life is wonderful and we feel the sunshine and we have the rose-colored glasses on and life is good and all is well. And when that happens, we let people off the hook left, right, and center. Doesn't faze us, doesn't worry us. It'll be okay, it'll all work out, and so on. We're not talking about that. We're talking about when you're at your crabbiest and you're most irritated, to stay screwed in as the light bulb and know what's happening is not the reality of me, it's the factual side of life for me just now. But it's not my reality. My reality is I'm this iridescent, incandescent light bulb, and I am full of that power that can take care of anything and everything. But in the meantime, I'm just going to know it, I'm just going to know it, I'm just going to know it, because I'm not my condition, I'm not my circumstance, I'm not my situation, I'm not any of that. What I am is the light of spirit living its way through this experience of this lifetime as love. And so the most loving thing I can be for myself in that moment is love that is compassion and kindness and acceptance. Accept myself the way I am, and I know I won't always be this way. This is passing. It's just passing. Love, you see. That's what love would do. So love being the seminal value, I want to look at one other value that would come out of this, a value that you and I don't look at very often, as I shared this morning. And it's the power and the value and the amazing transforming essence that comes to and through us by means of our failing and falling and making mistakes. When did you last think of your failures, your fallings, and your mistakes as a great gift? As something that's come your way in order to open up more of that power and that presence and that strength that you are? Oh, I wish I had been taught that since I could understand anything. That when I fall and when I fail and when I make a mistake, it's my opportunity for growth. And that my sadness and my sorrow and my hurt and my disappointment today will be my strength tomorrow. And I'm not talking about time. If I allow it to be, and if I understand falling and failing and making mistakes. Now, the sooner the better you and I get to integrate all of those experiences into our lives as that which is good and that out of which good flows, the better life will be for you and for everybody else around you. But to get there, we have to know that the first law of breaking the belief in limitation of any kind is to judge not by appearances. Judge not by appearances. Straight away to go to judgment. Oh my God, look at me. Here I am in my face again on the ground. I failed, I've fallen, I've made the mistake again. Wouldn't you think by now, after all of those classes and courses and books that I've read, that I would be more advanced than this? Wouldn't you think? Wouldn't you think? What a waste of money, time, effort, and energy. Because look where I am again, right back in the same old, same old. That's where we're inclined to go with all of that. But what you and I have never been taught was, look, part of your experience on planet Earth, a school wherein you learn, and any school you learn in, you know you're going to make mistakes. The mistakes will be shown to you. You'll be helped to correct them, and then on you go. Life would be so much lighter and easier if we could give each other a wake for this to be so. Instead of all of this terrible judgment we have upon ourselves and each other every time we fall, we fail, and make a mistake. See, love, the seminal virtue, is so linked to this smaller aspect of the virtue of love, which is the ability to fall, make mistakes, and fail. When you take love to that experience, you know you're going to come through it the stronger and the wiser as a result of it. And you understand it's part of the human condition to fail, to fall, and to make mistakes. And when we do that coming from love, we don't cut each other off as soon as we fall, fail, and make a mistake. We do not do that. Love does not do that. Something other than love does. Something that we call love that's conditioned and that says, I will love you as long as you behave yourself and measure up. And as long as you are unto my liking, then I will love you. But fail short of that and I will withdraw that love. And you will know it. You will feel the ice of that. That's for sure. See, that's not love. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the opportunity here when we come here together to truly grow as spiritual masters. Spiritual masters. That's what we are. We are not followers. We're not disciples. Anybody wants you to follow them or be their disciple, get out of Dodge quickly. Go, run fast. We're here to evoke in each other masterfulness. We're here to create as a community individualized masters of life so that we can be so masterful out there and effective in the world as a result of that. So that we are not afraid of failure and falling and mistaking ourselves and each other. We're not afraid of that at all. We understand it's part of the human evolution to be in this process. That's what we understand, my dear ones. So that if you really want to know how deeply you are loved, you will know it by the people who continue to love you when you fall and you fail and you make mistakes. There's no other way of knowing it. How am I going to know that I am loved by means of spirit if you don't love me? How do I know that I am forgiven if you don't forgive me? How do I know that I am of value if you don't value me, and vis-a-vis? Because that's the way the godliness is set up on this plane. Spirit by means of you and spirit by means of me is the love that is given, the love that is always embracing, encompassing, and allowing. Now, it doesn't mean that any one of us has to condone our faults, our failures, and our mistakes. Not at all. Not at all. But when you think about families, I've known mothers that if you were to say they had a favorite, it would be the black sheep in the family. Or as Barbara Bush once said, when she was asked, which child do you love the best? The one who was in the most trouble at any given time was her answer. So, what are we valuing right here and right now? What is true value for you and what is true value for me? And we were just talking this morning in between the services how the children of today, the grown-up children of today, don't want their parents' stuff. And mothers are getting very upset. She doesn't want my china. I collected that china all my life. I valued that china all my life. It's in pristine state, in a beautiful condition in that glass case. All my life, I value that china. And I knew one day I would be passing that china on to my child. And she wouldn't have to work all her life for that china, because there it would be. My own niece and nephew told their mother, you know, Ma, we're really not interested in the Waterford crystal. Why don't you use it? If you break it, isn't it, then it's okay, because we don't care. It's not what a mother wants to hear. Any of you children out there, take the china and pass it on to somebody who will love your mother's china. Be gracious. So our values, you see, change. They change. They change as we change. As we go to the crossroad, every time we go to that crossroad, that passes from the first tier into the second tier. And, there's no first or second tier, but you have to use some kind of human language to get it. But anyway, every time we go to the crossroad and choose to go through the portal into the next phase of my growth and development, there will be these things that will change for you and for me. Remember, the ego loves status quo. It loves to hang on to status quo. It doesn't like change. It doesn't like that you don't like your mother's china. You see, it wants everything to be status quo. But you are not like that, and I'm not like that. It's not your nature to stay and remain in status quo. Change is demanded and called from us all of the time, especially those who are consciously awake and alert and want to be unfolding spiritually. So know what's of value to you. And in a nutshell, I'll tell you what's of value to you and to me. People, persons, other reflections of yourself. And whether you like it or I like it or not, every single person that crosses your path and you look into them, you'll find a piece of yourself in there somewhere. There will be a part of you somewhere. You're always looking into yourself. There's no one else to look into. There's only the self. So we're always looking into the self of ourselves to some degree in some way or another. And if you and I understand true value being love unconditioned and unconditionally given, it is written, you have received love. Go now freely and fully give what you have received. Freely give and fully give what you have already received, because you can. You're loaded with it. There's no shortage of it within you. You have no shortage of love, even though we'll sit around and cry in our, tea or whatever we're crying into, or sing our sad songs and say, where is love? Where is love? I'm trying to find love. Where is love? Where is love? You're singing it. From it, you see. Now, you and I have to understand that if I'm going to love anyone, it's the whole package. Good, bad, and indifferent. And there'll be some times when we'll be all over the place in that. So I am going to receive you with all your faults and all your failings and all your mistakes and all of your great and grand and glorious magnificence as well. And I won't be focused on the faults and the failings and the mistakes, but on the magnificence. And I will understand, like every good parent understands, that a child makes mistakes. And wouldn't a parent love to be able to guard a child from falling down and hurting itself and so on? Wants to do that, but knows can't do that. Let the child find the way of taking care of itself, because it can. It's full of the intelligence of life. So how are we going to be with each other is the question for the week to come. How will we value everybody that crosses our path? Will we see their face value, or will we see their true value? And every morning when we wake up ourselves, will we be aware of our face value, or will we be aware of our true value? Say with me right now, I am a master of life. I can do what I choose to do. And what I choose to do is masterful. Because I am a master of my life. I am clothed in truth. I am armed in love. I am ready and willing to spiritually serve as a master of my life. This is the truth of my being. It always was. It always will be. I am a master of my life. Say it like you mean it. I am a master of my life. Again, I am a master of my life, and so it is.